A popular saying is that he who fails to plan plans to fail, and a central part of planning is facts.
The importance of statistics in planning, monitoring, and evaluation cannot be overemphasized. No meaningful development can take place without appropriate statistical data with which to measure or evaluate programs and policies.
In today's world, we are faced with situations every day where statistics can help save the day. Statistics have been used from time immemorial to determine the potential outcome of various and varying scenarios. Developmental plans and strategies are dependent on adequate and reliable statistics, as it goes a long way in determining their success or failure. Little wonder why governments around the world place a lot more emphasis on data to enable them manage their economies successfully.
The statistics, as we know, is a science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting information. It has an amazing benefit to individuals, organizations, and governments, especially as it provides us with numerical information about our past and present so as to help us make predictions about the future.
Without data, you cannot plan properly for any kind of development. Without knowing how many people are unemployed, what their ages are, what their educational qualifications are, you cannot develop appropriate policies that will be used by government to resolve that problem. And it goes on and on. There is a direct relationship between the quality of data in developed countries and how developed those countries are.
In just 4 decades, the systems of statistics in Africa went through 3 seismic waves. The first of this occurred immediately in the aftermath of decolonization. During this time, Africa experienced a decade of dramatic rise in the development of its systems of national statistics, particularly in the implementation of population, census, and household surveys. However, 2 decades later, by the 90s, Africa was dogged by dramatic declines and diminished levels of competence in its systems of statistics. Consequently, the proportion of countries that undertook a census in the 1980, 1990, and 2000 rounds of housing and population censuses in Africa compared to those in other regions of the world was significantly lower. Africa undermined the cornerstone for statistical development at a critical moment of its development. Towards the end of the decade of the 90s, however, statistical systems of a reasonable number of countries on the continent experienced rapid revival as democracy drove a new lease of life on the continent. By 2005, all the countries on the continent were conscious of the need for a system of statistics for their sovereign, including the commitment to conduct a census. The question is whether this third wave consisting of revival in statistics heralds new beginnings and sustained statistical systems in Africa, or like its predecessor cycle, Africa will witness yet a decline. What is the case for Nigeria?
The National Bureau of Statistics used to be the Federal Office of Statistics, and in 2005 there was a merger between the Federal Office of Statistics and the National Data Bank, and that's what formed the current National Bureau of Statistics. So technically we're a very young statistical agency, and with that, the National Bureau of Statistics was mandated by its act to be the official source of all government data on Nigeria, the authoritative source of data, and the custodian of all national data in the country. And it's the basis of this that policies and programs are supposed to be designed. In fact, without NBSC's authority or stamp on any data that is produced, it ceases to be used by law as official Nigerian statistics. Our data is generated by our field officers that go into the field to collect this data, bring it back, we process, we analyze it, we apply our statistical tools to it, and then we generate these numbers.
Poverty is a big challenge to information collection in this country. Whenever you are to collect information that is supposed to be useful in terms of benefit for every Nigerian, some respondents look for a reward for giving you information sometimes.
Our major challenge still remains funding. NBS is still one of the, despite the increased attention to data and support I'm getting, it's still one of the least funded statistical agencies in the world. I know the statistical budget for even South Africa, for Kenya, is still significantly higher than Nigeria. Even the United States, Canada, with their sophistication in terms of ICT, have data production budgets that are 20, 30 times more than we have in Nigeria, where things are still done manually. So you can imagine the kind of challenge that gives us in terms of financing. But in a developing country like Nigeria, where data gathering has not really been historically been a big activity, you have to change people's perception where they are willing to give you data honestly. And again, this is still one of the challenges we get, because at the end of the day, the quality of the data we get is based on the quality of data we receive from the field. So if everybody is giving us wrong data, it's garbage in, garbage out. So we have to ensure that we sensitize the data, the people we are collecting data from, the respondents, to ensure that they give us data knowing fully well that our objective is not to audit them. Our objective is national development and building. So again, we get a little bit of resistance, but we mitigate this by taking time to explain to the respondents what we are doing, what the objective is, and how it is in their interest to ensure that they give us the right data. If we get the wrong pricing data, for example, we will misinform the central bank as far as inflation is concerned. The central bank will take a policy based on wrong inflation numbers that will end up affecting the same people that gave us the wrong number. So we have to explain to them that, look, what we are doing is more for you than us, and it's your interest to give us this data so that we can assist our government to do the right things for you, the people.
Well, certainly quite a lot has been accomplished. If we look back a decade ago, the national statistical system in Nigeria was in very bad shape. I wasn't here then, but I've heard about it, read about it, and now, what we have today is it's a revolutionary improvement. But in terms of recent improvements, we can also cite the comprehensive household budget surveys that now allow us to look at welfare improvements in employment, also agriculture, at the level of common Nigerians, households, allows us to look at poverty from different angles, and all of this is extremely useful. I should also note that the National Bureau of Statistics has been able to make more data available as well, not just collect more data, but make more data available on its website, in its web portal. We think that's also very important, because this data is essential for anybody making economic policy, essential for anybody trying to understand, do analysis of what is going on in the Nigerian economy. And it's also extremely important for us in terms of informing where our interventions can be useful in Nigeria.
Well, NBS has gone, like I said, from the old Federal Office of Statistics, where things were done very, very manually. I think NBS has moved significantly forward. I'm not saying that we are now operating on an international level, but a lot of progress has been made. For example, we are gradually moving from the use of paper questionnaires to computer-assisted personal interview systems. We are improving our data dissemination tools by using more modern technologies. Our website, from what I've been told by some officials in the World Bank, the data portal, I think an official in the World Bank suggested that there is no other African country whose statistical office actually has a data portal. And that's, again, something that you probably find in many more advanced countries. And the objective is better quality data, better dissemination of data, because at the end of the day, if you produce data and it's not used, then it ceases to be effective.
You know, there is a long story about you cannot plan without facts. So clearly there is a very strong link between planning and accurate and reliable statistics. And that's why for us, the regeneration of the statistical agency, the beefing it up and making it work efficiently is very, very critical to the whole planning machinery, because without data, you cannot really plan, or if you are planning, you're just wasting your time. This has really generated a wider interest. People are now seeing data not as something that is abstract, but as a very critical input into evidence-based decision-making.
We cannot take monetary policy decisions without statistics that comes from NBS. We rely on them for GDP figures. We rely on them for inflation figures. And you know that price stability is one of our key mandates in central bank. And inflation is central to the whole mandates, to that whole mandate of achieving price stability. So the data they generate in that area, and many other areas too, even the breakdown, agriculture, these are information we want to know, whether there's been growth in the economy, which sector is growing, by how much are they growing, and so these are all information that we need to help us take the right decisions at the right time. It also helps us to know what the economy is doing, where we are. Are we growing? Are we not growing? If we're growing, by how much? Which sectors are growing? And what monetary policy decisions do we need to take to make sure that growth is sustainable and price stability is achieved? So it's very central, key to everything that we do.
At Renaissance Capital, we're committed to telling the Africa story in a very factual, grounded and well-based way. Because of that, the facts and data that we need are critical to what we do. Our research platform is one of the most important platforms we have for delivering the message on Africa and the challenges and opportunities that Africa presents. The National Bureau of Statistics is critical, particularly in the context of Nigeria, in providing the data that we need to tell the story. Since 2006, I have seen personally an evolution where the data has become much more accessible, much more factually correct and analytical in content. The NBS has been more responsive to the information and queries we ask. They take on the challenges and discussion that we have with them around their data in a very constructive and robust manner. And this has been very, very helpful in terms of the information that we provide to our investors and other stakeholders who are looking at Africa.
The information provided by NBS is extremely useful for us because we consider that we need to use the information and the data produced by the countries to be credible. And for example, very recently we've worked very closely with NBS on the poverty data. Poverty data have been published recently. And for example, we are using the Global Household Survey to look at specific aspects of our program in Nigeria. Just to give you a specific example, we are currently doing a review of education, the education system in Nigeria, and we've been able to pull out the information on education system, but also on education outcomes in Nigeria, and that will inform the way we are moving forward.
So a lot of improvements have been made at the NBS. Even the quality of our staff have improved in terms of the training that they go through. Many of them have many years of experience. And we believe that going forward, all we have to do is sustain this process of better quality data production, better quality and timely dissemination and effective distribution of data. And that is actually what makes a very good statistical office.
Multiple indicator cluster survey was conducted in March 2011, while the other one was Global Adult Tobacco Survey, conducted in 2012. They were done in collaboration with UNICEF and the WHO. The data collection for that was between June and September 2012. For the multiple indicator cluster survey, it was an applause for Nigeria at the International Workshop for Analysis and Dissemination of the Data, which was held in Dakar, Senegal in 2011, where it was adjudged the best in the series of multiple indicator cluster survey conducted by Nigeria. The Global Adult Tobacco Survey were to be collected by two African countries, namely Nigeria and South Africa. Nigeria has successfully conducted that survey, and we are the only African country that have completed that survey. And as a result of the quality data that came out of that survey, Nigeria has been asked to assist Uganda to plan the pilot survey. And Nigeria has also been invited to come to Hong Kong to make presentation during the International Statistical Institute meeting coming up later this year.
The needs of science and industry spurred the growth of new statistical methods, but the field was very hampered by lack of computational power until the development of the computer industry. Since then, statisticians have taken advantage of every advance in computer technology, and every advance in this computer technology has provided more data that need more novel statistical methods in implementing them. National Bureau of Statistics Nigeria is a forerunner in using modern technology communications tools in the dissemination and gathering of information. NBS, in responding to this growing demand, recently launched an upgrade of their website portal, which is an expansive collection of data compiled over the years. This means that data can previously existed only in print, requiring laborious efforts and time and resources to obtain, analyze, and report is now accessible at everyone's fingertips. The NBS improved website is also representative of a major tool in the achievement of its mandate. The website puts NBS among the most informative on the continent. It has a number of exciting features. It is user-friendly, interactive, dynamic, and up-to-date with quality content. Since the ultimate purpose of data is to enable us access the past, understand the present, as well as anticipate and prepare for the future. The positive transformation motivated the NBS to expand its scope through the National Strategy for Development of Statistics, NSDS, to cover both federal and state producers of statistics.
And the reform of the SACO system in Nigeria started as far back as 2005, when we started the implementation of the Nigerian SACO Master Plan through the Economic Reform and Governance Project. And so the reform spanned over a period of 5 years, starting from 2005 to 2009, and that was successfully completed in 2009. And so following the reform, the need for us to really widen the scope of the reform of the system became very pertinent. Nigeria as a federation, we are conscious of the fact that for us to really develop holistically, we need to reform statistics even at the subnational level and at the MDS level. That now informs the design of the National Strategy for the Development of Statistics that is aimed at holistically reforming the entire SACO system, starting from the federal level down to the state level and up to the local government level. So the NSDS, in a nutshell, is aimed at addressing the lingering problems affecting SACO production in Nigeria, cutting across these tiers of government.
The NSDS is the National Strategy for Development of Statistics. Like in any serious program, you need a corporate strategy that will dictate the process towards achieving what you want. Our target is to be a world-class statistical office, and the NSDS, should I say, is our manual or our guide that shows us what the things that we need to do from where we are currently when it started to where we want to go to. So the NSDS shows us clearly what needs to be done to take us to that position where we can execute our mandate as the National Bureau of Statistics.
We have a national strategic statistics master plan. We are following that very religiously. We will continue, but a critical element of that obviously is capacity building. We will continue to build capacity, not only human capacity, but capacity in terms of the necessary equipment and especially hardware and software that is necessary to continue to improve the statistical system. The progress that has been made recently has been acknowledged, especially the timely release of data that is now become part of our success story in this country.
Now, the statistics of Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory are being brought on board. Each state is expected to develop a state strategy for the development of statistics, SSDS, that would feed into the national strategy.
In line with our Statistic Act is also the coordinator of the National Statistical System. And the National Statistical System includes all producers and users of statistics, which includes the states and even at the local government level. And first of all, we try to ensure proper, effective statistical production and coordination at the national level. And then starting from this year, we're actually moving to the state statistical offices with advocacy, with proper human capacity development, with linking their offices properly by developing statistical templates for them to use and training their staff to generate this data, which will be done largely by the NBS staff. So at the end of the day, it's a process of working together with state statistical offices, ensuring that they understand the procedures, the templates are agreed to gather the data, and then we start gathering the data with them. What we have been doing is through via a virtual private network to link our database here at the headquarters with databases at all the 36 state offices in the country, so that as they generate their data and push it into their state statistical offices, it's automatically linked into our database here at the headquarters. So information, data produced at different states automatically just flow into NBS, and we can now share the data, analyze it, and process it. That will make the whole process of data production, analysis, and dissemination faster and more effective.
Unlike in the past, the data provided by NBS can now serve as reference for socio-economic development strategies. The department has moved from darkness to light. And Professor Ben Kirejara, former director of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, and also chairman of the Ugandan Bureau of Statistics, had this to say: other African countries should come to Nigeria and learn what transformation is all about.
My last message to Nigerians on statistical development is to bear with the National Bureau of Statistics. The National Bureau of Statistics is essentially 7 years old, probably one of the youngest statistical offices in the world. It's a process. We will get more and more data for Nigerians. We are committed to that, and it's our mandate, and we intend to achieve and accomplish our mandate to the letter. But at the same time, we would appeal to Nigerians to support us even as we try to achieve this mandate by cooperating more with our enumerators, our data collectors, because at the end of the day, the quality of our work depends largely on the quality of the responses they give us.